Welcome to Your Number Man, where we share financial strategies, business insights, and inspiring stories to help you navigate a successful business. I am your host, Johan, and my goal is to help you achieve a bigger life in business. Well, today we've got two very, very special people in the studio, Natalie Michels and Trevor Ferraresso. Two of my very special clients. I can't say my favorite clients because I'm going to get in trouble, but we've been working together for quite a time, since 2018, I think. And together, Natalie and Trevor runs a business called Coiltek Manufacturing. And for those of you who understand metal detecting, it's the coils it's a specific brand on metal detecting. They also do Coiltek Electronics, which they supply a lot of wiring service to other electronic companies as well. Coiltek is the market leader in specialized coils for gold, other precious metals, and treasure detectors in Australia and also globally. A significant milestone for Coiltek was to achieve the ISO 9001 certification earlier this year, and this underscores their commitment to quality and continuous improvement. This certification now propels Coiltek to enhance their capabilities into industries such as defense, mining, space exploration, and the medical sector. Natalie and Trevor.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome here. Natalie, you are the CEO of Coiltek.
Yes.
And I've known you, like I said, for quite a time. And you always struck me as highly driven. You take challenges with extraordinary skill, passion, and business acumen to constantly stay ahead of the game, and you also go great length to put your staff and your customers first. And I do know you also got a background in marketing, or you studied marketing and business management as well, together with your technical expertise. So my question actually, Natalie, we're going to start with you, is how do you use your unique combination of skills to drive innovation while maintaining operational efficiencies?
That's a good question. I think for me, I really enjoy taking a real umbrella or helicopter view of the business. So a real looking from the top down, outside of the box thinking, looking at all aspects from the top of the business, top level, and then slowly working our way down to the finer detail, depending on what we're working on and what part of the business we're working on, whether it's the metal detector coils or working with different electronic componentry, and also depending on what industry we're looking at, building new collaborations or liaising with. Marketing's something that I really enjoy. It's super creative.
Yeah.
And looking at new markets, target clients, customers, really doing the research behind that. And I think for me, research is something I really enjoy as well. So researching potential new clients or markets is something that I take the lead on. Also, I think if we're looking at establishing new directions for the business, being in the electronics industry, probably around about every 18 months, if you're looking at the metal detector coils that we manufacture, we're needing to produce something new because the electronics industry is constantly evolving and changing. So we've got to keep
innovating.
up. Yeah, so we need to have our thinking caps on all the time. So definitely upper management. And once a project has become established and it's out in the market, it's like, okay, what's happening next?
Yes.
So it's always this rolling.
Thinking about the next big thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's great that you actually mentioned that you like to see something from the top. And I had a few guests in here before. We talked about how you sometimes can get stuck. It's like you're in a maze.
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel you just want to shoot a drone up from the top and actually see. So I've been working with you for quite a while. I see that vision, that bird's eye view coming through as well, and helping your team and also guiding your customers to understand the value that you're actually bringing to them. That's great. Trevor, so I've known you just as long. We've been working together. You and I have done a lot of number crunching sometimes.
We like our numbers, that's for sure.
Spreadsheets. There's a number show, so we've got to
include them.
We'll have to touch on the numbers every now and again, but we like to do our costings and stuff. You've got more than 25 years of experience in electronics, and throughout your career, you have built important relationships to enhance your knowledge and experience with the metal detecting and electronics industry. But, Natalie talked about the innovative products offerings, but how do you drive the Coiltek innovation you're in charge of the operations and
technical side. Yeah.
And the technical side.
Yeah, that's always a bit tricky. But I think one of the main things that we've done successfully over the years is listen to what the customers need and what they want. So, where there's gaps, we try and fill them. If they need better sensitivity on the metal detector coils that we manufacture or better depth and things like that, we can create products that will fill that gap and provide them the opportunity to find more targets, really. That's our ethos around the metal detector side.
Yeah.
With the electronic side, we are a contract manufacturer, so we manufacture parts for other companies. We sort of essentially build recipes mostly on the electronic side with our wire winding and electronic componentry and assembly. However, it does take a fair bit of innovation and technology around trying to make sure that we can be efficient in Australia because, as you know, the biggest challenge in Australia is manufacturing and keeping the prices right. So for us, it's about how we can automate, how we can streamline efficiencies, productivity, crunching the numbers, making sure that we understand what numbers say and the percentages, they tell the story. So for us, it's about listening to the customer because we're business to consumer on the metal detector side and business to business on the electronic side of the business.
So at the end of the day, you want to fulfill the customer's needs in your product.
Well, that's right. And, I'm in the lucky position too that I'm the sales and business development director. So I'm out there talking to the customers and our dealers. We export globally. We've got a pretty good percentage of our revenue is export. But I can then feed back to Natalie and we can, do the sales and marketing dance, as Mr. Rob Chisholm would say. So, we make sure that we can work together on, at the next stream of product, the next innovation we need to do internally and always listening to that customer side and then talking with Natalie about it. We can work on a plan of attack, don't we, So.
Although Natalie is much better looking than you are.
Absolutely. I've got a face for radio, so this is perfect for me.
But you're the face of Coiltek. You're the guy that you see, you're out in the field.
Been sort of, on the YouTube for Coiltek and sort of always put my face there. And last night I was on a radio show called the Mind Lab Show where got interviewed for our new product that we're releasing this month as well. So, I sort of a little bit more of the front because I've been in the industry and actually do a lot of detecting and stuff myself. Whenever I am not crunching numbers, I do like to think about going detecting, whether I actually get there or not. But certainly we sort of work hand in hand. Natalie's definitely the CEO and the business acumen around that, where I'm sort of more of the face,
That's cool, man. Yeah. So I forgot to say that you guys are married.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Very married, happily married. So you bought this business back in 2007 together as a married couple. What struck me over the years is that both of your philosophy to leadership are based on integrity, transparency, and the commitment to excellence. And you've got a mutual respect toward each other. It's really not hard to see. I've got two questions here. So how daunting was it when you first started out together? And what advice would you give to other married couples out there if you want to start a business together?
Really good questions.
Yeah,
so how daunting was it, Natalie, in the beginning? Yeah.
Oh, well, it was a very different looking business. So when we first bought the business, the old owners were no longer interested, so felt that it didn't have a future. Trevor had been working there for 10 years.
It's not 99, so 8 years.
8 years, yeah. And we saw a future there. And 30-somethings at that time, quite a while ago, thought, well, you know what, let's just give it a go.
Yes.
I had been working for myself, so I had a bit of understanding and I had already done some business study prior to that, but not essentially in the electronics industry. And we were fortunate that we were able to purchase on a vendor finance. So that made it a lot more possible for us to step into the space, and establishing roles for the both of us did take a number of years. Because we hadn't worked together prior to that, and working out who's going to wear what hat certainly was a bit of a journey, and just working out what we both really preferred to do and what were our strengths, and then being able to talk together and go, okay, I feel comfortable with this, you feel comfortable with that. And to be honest, that did take some time, and we had a business mentor at that stage who assisted us in looking at our personal characteristics and how it fit best within the business. So then it was a harmonious effect on the relationship as well. So that balance has always been something that's incredibly important to us. And communication is one of our company values. And I think because it's just such an integral and important part of every relationship.
Yeah.
So for the two of us, that's been just super important.
Yeah, I concur. The biggest thing for husband and wife teams is knowing what you like to do and making a clear and decisive point where you go, right, that's your job, that's my job. And, you know, you can still talk to each other about it, but ultimately the decisions in those roles sort of end with that person.
Yeah.
So, which is just like, you know, pretend if you're not husband and wife, you're walking into a job and you've got a CEO or you've got a business development. But, you know, I think it's just a matter of trying to make sure that understand each other's roles and strengths, play to those strengths and really identify the things that we want to do in the business.
That's it. Yeah, and obviously you had young kids as well at that,
we
stage,
did.
didn't you?
Yeah, Natalie
when we
was
bought
pregnant.
we actually bought a house. I was pregnant with our second child, and we bought a business all in the same year. So
house, business, and kid, and a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly was a decent juggle.
I think we sort of felt confident with the situation because I'd been working in the business already and knew it pretty much back to front and built really strong relationships with our dealer networks and suppliers because I was essentially running the place at that point anyway because like Natalie said before.
Yeah, you were an employee of the business.
I was an employee. I was sort of managing it, doing the custom. I was doing everything because the old owners were a little bit foot in another business and they weren't as interested. So it just sort of ended up that, you know, I mentioned to them, well, we'll take it on and it just grew from there and they thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were going out buying a bakery or some other business that we knew nothing about. So that gave us a little bit of a understanding that we were doing the right thing.
Yeah, and what advice would you give married couples, you know, who want to start a business?
One of the top points would be to really choose to do what makes you happy because it's going to impact every aspect of your life. And if you're working with your partner, it's going to impact on that relationship as well. So really look at doing the things that you enjoy, that brings you job satisfaction because owning a small business, there's a lot of pressure. You wear multiple hats. So that would be the first thing. Another point is boundaries. So setting really strict boundaries as to when you talk about the business, when you're not in the business, when you're outside. Because it can become quite a topic of conversation at the dinner table in the morning. So going, okay, establishing the boundaries at after 6 p.m, phones go down. We're not talking about business now. So having windows where it's okay and then having windows where it's like, nope.
Time limits.
Correct. Yeah.
We've got 20 minutes.
And they've adapted over the years and our kids have been great. We've actually told our children if we chat during tea about work, please tell us, hey, you're talking about work. And they've been excellent because they'll bring it, they've brought it up and gone, hey, Mum and Dad, you're talking about work. And we went, oh, cool, thanks, no problems.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to fall back into that trap.
It is, yeah. It's almost like, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird situation as a sole owner. You don't want to talk to yourself about business the whole time.
Yeah, you just have to, you know, just definitely take moments for yourself just to realise that you can only do so much.
Yeah.
You know, within a day, within a week, you're doing your best. You put your best foot forwards and just go, right, that's all I can do at the moment. And sometimes a good sleep clears the head and you come back the next day and you're ready to go. Hey?
And if I can just add, I think back to working on it instead of in it. So that's something that I actually enjoy the most. That's, again, going back to the helicopter view. So when your mind is stuck in the rumination, so it becomes really muddy, quite clogged and foggy. So if we can take the helicopter view, all of a sudden you just need that one aha moment. And over 17 years of business, we've gone through some serious bumps.
Yes.
Peaks, troughs. And so when you're in that trough, it's like being able to just take that breath and going, okay, all right, what am I not seeing? What do we need to see now? Right. And I think taking that time to, I'm not saying that it happens quickly. It's just we've developed it over the years as well.
Yeah, understanding the signs of when to sort of, you know, pull back or go forwards,
Yes, no, it's daunting. Natalie, just coming back to the helicopter view again, I sort of associate it with vision as well.
Yep.
your vision to transform Coiltek into a leader in its field, that really stands out to me. But it takes a lot of creative power. I like to call it business muscle and financial fitness.
Yeah.
You got to run a team, and you got to have exceptional resources such as state-of-the-art machinery and automation with effective systems.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, without talking too much out of school, where are the major areas that you have to focus on to keep track with your vision?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Trevor might have touched on it a bit earlier.
Yeah.
So just really understanding the gaps in the particular and very specific industries. So being very clear on Coiltek's scope. So we've purposefully chosen in the electronics industry to focus on small wire-wound electronic componentry. There is another company that does more larger service, but we've chosen to do smaller, intricate, detailed. We could see there's a need for that, and our team are very skilled at it. So I think just coming back to understanding the scope, and then the vision stays clear. It might adapt slightly. It just depends again on your customer, understanding your customer, talking to your customer, finding out exactly what they're wanting. That does take time too. So none of this is real quick. This is years of communication with the customers, establishing relationships. It's really integral.
Yeah, it's a big part.
And with automation too, for us, it's been a bit of a journey years back when we were first introduced to the fact that, wow, look at, robotics, this is what it can do, it's fantastic. Then really understanding and identifying the gaps we have in our manufacturing plant and going, okay, well, what can we actually put in there and how can we program it and design it and set it up to increase efficiencies and productivity?
Yeah.
And they're cobots, so they work with the staff. And then once we've been able to implement that, the staff can work on more intricate, detailed, kind of higher skilled work.
Yeah, and more design and innovative kind of things. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Trev, it's a Number Man podcast, so we'll have to touch on the numbers. Let's talk about the numbers. You've worked very hard to streamline the efficiencies, your product costings, and refining the pricing strategies. I mean, we always bang out every month. We carry on. We talk about gross profit.
GP percentage.
Your GP percentage. I like to refer to it as the engine room of your business. Your GP is almost, it's like always say it in every podcast, cash is king, GP is queen of the business.
Yep.
So you've worked very hard to substantially really grind away and getting that margin better. But how important do you believe is it to be on top of your margins and ratios? And how did it help you?
Well, essentially, if you don't look at the numbers, all of a sudden they can creep up on you and go the wrong way. So for me, and as you would know, Johan, chatting with you many times, is about always consistently looking at your bill of materials, what's going in, your labour costings, making sure that you've got that in hand and in check. There has been times where a few months go by and you don't look at it, and then all of a sudden you realise that your suppliers are putting monies up or prices up and you're getting more expenses because they don't seem to slow down too much. They can stay relatively the same, but all of a sudden you get price increases everywhere and you can lose track of that GP, and your GP starts going the wrong way, and then you haven't got that money there to be able to innovate and create within the company because it's all just going on cost of goods and expenses. So I think that helps us drive the fact that there's plenty of value in what we provide as well, because if our GP's at a good position and we're all happy with that, then we know that we've priced our service and our products correctly. Gold price at the moment for the metal detector coil side of things is gone pretty stupid. It's pretty high at the moment.
Yeah.
So, people sort of do see a lot more value in spending money in an aftermarket product like we supply, because it can help them find more gold as well. Yeah. So, we can price our products accordingly to make sure that we're sort of in the market game, but also there's plenty of value for what we can provide from that.
That's great. That's a great answer. Thanks for that. But while we're on that topic and you're talking about the gold price, just for the interest sake of our listeners, what's the average size of nugget that people sometimes find out, when they go metal detecting?
Yeah, nuggets, they range from anywhere from flour, real fine powder, which is gold panning size. Like fine gold, we call that. up to kilos of gold. There was one recently found in Victoria only a few months ago that was about, I think it was 23 ounces of gold inside the host rock, like the specimens. So 23 ounces, he'd probably get close to $100,000 for that.
That's over a kilo.
What was it, a kilo? I think there's 30 ounces to a kilo. So it's close to a kilo.
Okay.
But because it's such a significant lump, the bigger the nugget that people find, it becomes more significant because they're very, very rare. So, you'd get good money for that.
Yeah.
And we've been in the fortunate industry that we often see some significant finds. I've held a 7-kilo nugget we had shown to us a couple of years ago that came through that was found in Victoria. Victoria seems to have the biggest nuggets around.
It's always been the goldfields of Australia.
The goldfields, that's right.
Yeah.
Western Australia is really good too.
Yeah.
So, nuggets range from all sides. There's no commonality through that. It really just comes down to where you are, what ground you're hunting in, and what sort of equipment you've got, what you're looking for, in that side. So, it's pretty exciting when you find a nugget, that's for sure.
It is exciting.
It's been sitting there for millions of years, billions of years.
So perhaps we'll have to convert some of our listeners that like to go fishing. Say, perhaps this is a more lucrative kind of.
Well, it is
hobby.
like fishing. It's just we don't throw the small ones back. So when you find a small target, you keep it.
Yeah,
so,
you don't get
there's no size limit.
You don't get seasick.
No.
You don't have to buy a big boat.
Lots of flies though if you're in the wrong area. So. But it's a really good hobby.
Yeah.
More and more people are getting out and doing the hobby. It's a great thing for families, for individuals. It's exercise, getting out and about, and the opportunity to find some significant rewards too. It's one of the only hobbies that pays you back as you
if you find
more and
100,
more.
Find a big nugget, get 100,000 in your back pocket.
There you go. It's a new car or pay off loans or whatever. So, a small investment to get into the hobby. And doing some research is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, Trevor and I spoke about numbers, but obviously part of your bird's eye view, again, coming back to the helicopter thingy, you've got a global understanding or a global view understanding of the finances of the business.
It's critical.
Yeah.
So, I think cash flow forecasting is, I'd put that right up the top.
Yep.
Because again, like you said, cash is king.
Yeah.
And to be able to forecast out is, the most important thing that you need to be doing. Over the years, we've developed different controls because when you're working with overseas markets, understanding sometimes they've got constraints with being able to pay outside of their country. So we work with Middle Eastern countries, European countries, North America. We have worked within South America countries as well. So there's a lot of variance when you're working with customers overseas and payment terms. So we learned many years ago for any export, it's prepayment or it's at least 50% prepayment and then full payment before anything leaves our property. And that's just through necessity and that's through learnings that we've had as well, dealing with different international companies that might say they're going to pay at a certain time, and then being a small business, it's integral for cash flow that the money's coming in, so therefore we can pay our suppliers, staff.
You've got to buy the materials, you've got to pay the staff, you've got to pay the rent, and sometimes the order can take up to 2 months before it's ready to be shipped.
Correct. Yeah. And in that period of time, suppliers need their payments and so forth. So it's that constant spinning wheel, isn't it? To me, it's like a spinning wheel of cash. It's the flow.
You also sometimes forget that your stock holding is cash that's just sitting there, Like I look at it sometimes with the stock that we've got and you realise you've invested all this money to make this stock, but it's still cash that you've got to get out. Like Natalie said, you've got to pay your suppliers still in some of them 30 days, and we don't actually get the goods out sometimes for another 30 days after that because of production times and depending on demand. But, you've got a lot of stock holding as well. So that's another thing that can be a hidden trap is you invest a lot in your stock and that's where your money goes.
That's right.
I think too, being strategic then, which is what we've done, is we've looked at the business as a whole over a 12-month period when we've done our budget. And then when we've noticed we need to purchase in larger quantities, we've been a bit strategic with let's postpone it for a couple of weeks, a month. We know we can get through till then. cash is coming in here. So it's that whole management of it, isn't it? And it's having your finger on the pulse and understanding your business.
Definitely.
So I like to look at the regular expenses where in regards to loans, rent, everything's all in there.
Yeah.
So it's real figures.
Real numbers, and numbers don't lie.
That's right.
So Natalie, I'm just going to throw something into our little podcast, just getting a bit sort of like sidetracked from the Coiltek business.
Sure.
I just want to put it out there that Natalie is also a mindfulness coach.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of a sideline. Well, I think it's probably a pretty big sideline now, a light mind.
Yeah.
And it's in Golden Grove, isn't it, your studio?
It's actually in St. Agnes. So I'm an integrative mindfulness practitioner and a registered counsellor. So about 5 years ago, I started extra study.
Yeah.
And something really passionate to me, just being able to offer mental health support. But also over 20 years ago, I began my own journey in regards to meditation, mindfulness, and it's been such an integral part of assisting me through business. It doesn't matter what, not just business, in every part of my life, with being a better parent, better mum, wife, just more grounded. Yeah. So...
And then you implement that into your business for your team as well.
Yeah, very much so. We've had mindfulness workshops. I have had a close practitioner of mine come and facilitate workshops for the staff, and just understanding the benefits of mindfulness within a business. And also these are skills that they can take with them wherever they choose to, but also looking at efficiencies and productivity and just being aware of what you're doing right here and now in this moment, bringing it right back.
Being aware and connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, present in the moment, we talk a lot about
present,
it. With, the philosophy that Natalie employs, but also that I sort of adopt as well. But in the stand-up meetings we have every day and, whenever we have full staff meetings, we talk a lot about being present in the moment and not getting too distracted, because everyone's got a lot of stuff going on in their lives, for sure. And for us, with electronic componentry, we need to make sure that everything's correct. You get something a little bit wrong in the crucial areas and critical control points, then the product doesn't work or, the customers aren't happy. So just being present and mindful on what you're doing for the day and for the moment makes a massive difference on the output and the productivity, and happiness is one of our core values. So like Natalie said before, it's about coming to work happy, trying to be as joyful and respectful to each other as possible and getting the job done ultimately.
And it's also, with the awareness, you can also notice clarity. And in business, I think that's essential, absolutely essential.
Clarity is power.
Yeah, and I couldn't be without it.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how many permutations and nuances there are in a business?
Yeah.
How many stuff you got to take into consideration,
Yeah, both Natalie and I are very solutions orientated. So, we tell the staff as well, don't come to me with the problem, come to me with 3 solutions.
3 solutions? Wow.
Or at least one. But 3 is better, because then you've got, what if. And then you can workshop it, because it's easy to get caught up in the dreadful doldrums and the problems of things all the time and, it's not going to work, but we're still here, the doors are still open and things are still cruising through and we've got new products. So without those hiccups and road bumps, you don't learn for the next stage, So it's always a learning journey, but definitely solutions orientated.
And we know somebody that always talks about understanding your problem is half the problem solved, isn't it?
We do know someone, yeah.
All right. We might have a bit of a shout out to Rob.
Yeah.
Rob Chisholm from...
Hi, Rob.
Do
your best and let it rest.
Do your best and let it rest. Yeah, he's always talking about it. And that's great. He mentioned about really being solution orientated.
That's right.
And
something we talk about a lot.
And that's your philosophy,
that's right. And when we have our board meetings and other sort of strategy meetings, it's all about where we can be. And also taking the time to look where you've come from. Because we often get caught in the moment and the problem now, but you realise that we were once not a business owners, and when Natalie and I first walked into that business, it was a good business, had a good product, but like Natalie said before, it was on its way out. The old owners didn't really want it anymore. So looking at what we've done over the 17 years, even ISO accreditation, we're now fully certified, like you mentioned, Johan.
That's great.
That was a huge effort, to get that across the line.
And it's still an effort. You still got to audit the stuff on a monthly basis.
That's right. We've still got to make sure you're ticking all the boxes, because when it comes around to the next review, you need to make sure you're still doing the same things.
Yeah.
So taking the time to look back at what you've achieved and what you've done, and giving yourself a bit of a pat on the back now and then, saying, I can, I look at what we've done. It's pretty good. Sometimes you don't even give yourself that enjoyment and accolade to say, hey, we've achieved what we've achieved.
Yeah.
It's provided what we wanted. We're employing 10, 11 great South Australians as well in our business. So we can be really proud of that. And business owners that have that as well can take a moment and just say, hey, we're employing South Australians to make sure that we're doing what we can for the market.
Yeah, no, you are very, very passionate about trying to keep manufacturing
Absolutely.
in Australia.
In Australia.
And South Australia for that matter. So it's a tough one. People's always like cutting up prices from overseas as well. But we really want to build up the economy. If we got a crystal ball here from both of you, where do we see the economy going into manufacturing?
I think a matter of it is making sure that we try and keep manufacturing here, have more skills and labour here, upskill our internal resources, each company looking at trying to make sure that the right people are doing the right jobs. And I think it will make a big difference. But as far as, where the economy and that's going, it's a bit of a scary one.
I also think that I'm just fascinated by automation. I think the more research we do and the way that it can work alongside staff.
Yes.
So it's not about replacing people. It's about looking at how can we produce the widgets that we produce in a more efficient and productive way. So for us, it's really identifying where we can implement that inside our business, and also looking at different government grants and support for us specifically so we can implement that, because there's a rather large cost with looking at automation. But I think if it was my crystal ball, I'd be suggesting that we're looking at finer detail work, being able to supply in full in time so we can keep things onshore. Also, there's a lot to be said about keeping the intellectual property onshore as well. I think through COVID, there are a lot of reasons why having major products and components being produced offshore is not where we want to go back to. We experienced massive delays in parts ourselves. So being able to have that capability onshore is critical for Australia as a whole, not just for South Australia. So,
it's big.
And I just would like to add as well, whether it's state or on a national level, but really looking at how can we support our small business with grants, really focusing on small business. I have had a chat with different MPs in regards to making it more accessible for small business, to be able to tick the boxes to meet the criteria, to be able to enter specific grants, put your foot in, because we employ majority of Australians, if you go across Australia, in small business. So, wanting to make sure that the legacy and the growth is there.
Yeah. Yeah, we are the real heroes, the small business owners.
Yeah.
We're the ones that battle through it, that's for sure.
That
we
make
talk a
the
lot
economy
about.
ticks, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So what would you tell small business owners, 3 big takeaways?
From very early on in business, when it was agreed that I would be the CEO of the business, it was really important to me to go and chat with every staff member whenever I'm there, because even though we wear different hats, we're all human. So for me, I've enjoyed being able to go and just say, hi, how are you? Because without team, there's no I in team, as they say.
Yeah.
So I can't run the business on my own. I wouldn't want to anyway. So in regards to advice is finding really good people.
Yep.
And our company values are respect, communication, professionalism, happiness, trust. And they're not just words, so they become, this is the way we do things. And we do talk about that in our full staff meetings. So understanding that as well would be something else that I would suggest is really actually critically important in business. Understanding your values. So your values, your people. And I mean, obviously I can't not say your finances. That's so critical. So really having a good relationship with your bank manager is really important. We've embraced ours, really just taking the time to educate them on the direction of our business. We've got a meeting coming up shortly because we've got some new projects coming up over the next 12 months. So bringing them in so they can understand. So if you're going for funding, finance, that they already know, they understand, they can see your vision, they understand this is the market. They can also see that you've done the research. And so when they go to credit, they can speak on your behalf. That's really important too.
Yeah. Your people, your team, your trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you agree, Trev?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, with the finance side of things and your bank manager, a lot of grants that we've gone for a 50-50 as well. So as a small company, sometimes you don't have that funding in your own bank balance because you're doing daily stuff.
Yeah.
So the bank needs to help out as far as the contribution of the other 50 because you've got an understanding of what you need it for and the markets that you're going to create with it and the abilities you're going to create. So it's a massive one. The team's everything for us, the right people in the right spots and making sure that we provide a good environment for them. We like our warehouse pretty clean. We certainly like making sure the areas are tidy, things are in their place, not wasting a lot of downtime looking for things and just listening to them as well. So, we encourage feedback and encourage communication from them because they're the ones doing the job. So if we can make it easier for them and better, and then we will look at that for sure.
Can I just add to that? We have an incredible accountant. So not only do we work with an amazing advisory board that we've had that Rob and yourself, Johan, are a part of. And I think we've been part of the advisory board for about 6 or 7 years now. Business mentoring, I would definitely encourage. I talk to small business owners now because understanding your business activity statement, there's so many things. So having a good accountant that you trust that you can go to.
You talk about the tax financial accountant.
Yep, that's really important as well to get your head around because
walk the journey with
correct. And you need to understand the figures. You really do.
Yeah.
When they're talking to you about, preparing for tax and depreciation, you really need to understand that. So finding someone who's happy to explain it to you is really important.
Yeah, and understanding your business structure as well. The biggest mistakes business owners makes in business, I think, is perhaps
it's probably just not looking at let's go back to the numbers, just really understanding their cash flow and where the money's coming in and where it's going out and keeping an eye on all the expenses because they can creep up on you. So having the cash flow forecasting spreadsheet, taking some time during the week to look at how the company's going and definitely understanding balance sheet and P&L because they tell you the story as well. So, I think one of the biggest things that businesses run into trouble with is obviously cash flow. So if you lose sight of that at any time and it goes on too long, then all of a sudden you'll have nothing left. So it can be really challenging.
I think I would go back a little bit further and just say also doing your market research. So before you actually jump in with both feet, understanding the market that you're about to enter and what product does the market want, really understanding that.
Competitors in the market.
Yeah, so doing full research and taking the time, and that can really be so incredibly helpful. And again, coming back to clarity, you might even decide by doing that research, I'm really not sure that this is what I want to do. And that could be prior to you even stepping into the business.
That could be your best decision you've ever made.
Correct. Or if you're in it already with 2 feet, it's like, well, does the market want to continue with this particular product or widget that I've got? How do I adapt and move and change? So it's having, again, I think, that helicopter view, stepping out of it and being able to look on it and go, okay, what do we need to do here?
Yeah, well, I guess we can go on for the whole day. Talk.
It's been good. Yeah.
Good. Lots of conversation.
A lot of conversations, and definitely there's so many takeaways here. So anyway, I'm going to put all your detail on the show notes as well as your mindfulness business, Natalie.
You.
And it'd be great, people, if you can comment, ask us questions.
Yeah,
we can always bring them in again and perhaps have a bit of a Q&A session as well.
Yeah, love to.
On that as well. The great takeaways is, like you guys said, is cash, your clarity, your numbers, and embrace technology.
Yeah.
And your people.
And people.
People.
Team. And just be respectful and
listen
business.
to great people like Johan and Rob and our mentors and accountants and bringing the great people around you. And Natalie and I couldn't have got to where we are and understood what we need to understand within business without other good people around us helping us fly the helicopter.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap from me. Natalie, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
It's been great.
Thank you. Trev, thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, we'll see each other soon.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is me, Johan, signing off as your number man. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.